Good evening. It's Thursday evening. It's 19th day of December. Exactly 6 days to Christmas. And it's time for Mek We Chat. Mek We Chat as we look at some of the issues around the region, around the world, and certainly the season's greetings. I'm Jerry George, thanking you for joining us for yet another edition. With us, as usual, is George Grant. He's at Master Control. Out there in cold New York, we have Margaret Francis, looking not exactly cold, but she's there. In London, Catherine Edwards and Bev Sinclair. I'm yours truly, Jerry George. Again, this evening, we invite you to invite a friend to the Facebook page or wherever you're hearing us. Tell them to join us for this another edition of Mek We Chat. Now, over to our producer, Bev Sinclair.
Good evening, folks. I tell you, I always feel so good when I'm in the company of these people. It don't matter how you hear them behave, they are all good people, is good people them. And I like to be in their company, especially on a day like today. It's time for Mek We Chat, And what we're going to chat about, although we always focus on serious things, in a very light-hearted way, it's coming down to the end of the year. So we want to do some reflections on the year, looking forward to the new year. And we're also going to look at Dominica's new cabinet of ministers. And we also want to take a look at some legal wranglings that have been happening in Grenada. I understand that the Prime Minister of Grenada has been quite busy, listening to talk shows and responding through his lawyer. So we want to look at, yes, those are the issues.
Social media.
Those are the issues that we want to look at as we actually, this is going to be our very last program for 2019. So tell everyone out there that they need to come and join us so we can wish all our viewers, listeners, friends, well-wishers, everyone, even those out there who only come to criticize, we love having you because you'd be surprised to know how the criticism help us to form opinion and get a really, really good understanding of what is happening out there. We love to hear the critics. So all of you, come join us this evening. It's our last show for 2019 because next week, Thursday, will be Boxing Day. We're all taking the day off and we're going to box. And then the Thursday after that will be the 2nd of January. A brand new month, a brand new year. So this is officially our last show for the year. So folks, we're going to get right to it. We do expect to be joined by Atherton Martin in a little bit. I hope he's able to join us because we know he's very, very busy over there in Dominica. And he can he can give us a little insight and a first-hand feeling of the new cabinet that has been installed, which is one of the issues that we certainly want to talk about tonight on Mek We Chat. So until Afi gets here, we have other issues that we can talk about, like the legal wranglings. I know George has had his earful and eyeful and mouthful and handful of that discussion over the past week. So we want to share it with our Mek We Chat audience, what has been happening on that front in Grenada. Jerry, have you been keeping up with the legal letters that have been thrown around in Grenada?
No, absolutely not. I knew the initial one, and yes, I think I know both of them. It's the first time I heard somebody downright tell a person who writes them a protocol letter, I don't even want to talk to you. I'm not even paying attention to you. I thought we need to have more of that.
But it is very interesting because it has been reported, not said in the letter, but it has been reported in various quarters that these are pre-action or first protocol letters or whatever they want to call them. But I like these letters and I wonder, George, although they're kind of lengthy, we could go ahead and maybe read some of it or excerpts of it on the air for our listeners. But we want to make sure that everybody on the same page with us.
All right.
What, Judge? Get hard copy. Good.
Yeah. The one I have here is pertaining to Claudette Joseph. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Now, she held a press conference this week, which, by the way, is up on the site, and you can check that out. And this came from the office of Nigel D. Stewart and Associates. Dear Madame, re-allegations of investment in the organic shrimp farm project in Victoria, St. Mark, by Dr. the Right Honorable Keith C. Mitchell. We act for the Right Honorable Keith C. Mitchell, Prime Minister Grenada, Carrie Coon, Penny Martinique. Our instructions are that on December 2nd, 2019, during a live press conference facilitated by former political leader Thurman Thomas and yourself as PRO of the National Democratic Congress, at the party's headquarters, situate at Mount Gay, St. George, you made certain statements on behalf of the NDC about our client, which we believe are defamatory in nature and geared to impugn his good name, his standing, and his reputation. In particular, in your statement, relative to the organic shrimp farm project in Victoria, St. Mark, you fabricated that our client said that, quote, he too was an investor, unquote. However, you are very well aware that our client is the minister responsibility for the Citizenship by Investment program, under which he said, under which the said project falls, and any personal involvement by our client as an investor or otherwise would no doubt be a clear conflict of interest, be unethical, and would amount to a grave reflection on the integrity of our client. Our client vehemently denies that he ever uttered words to that effect, but merely to say that he has invested in St. Mark as a parish on a whole. Page 2. The statements are therefore completely false and malicious in all respects, and were intentionally made by you to cause damage to our client's reputation. In the circumstances, therefore, we are instructed to make the following demands on you. 1. That you forthwith cease and desist from making these or similar defamatory statements about our client, and that you give an undertaking to this effect. 2. That you promptly, and no later than within 7 days of the date of your receipt of this letter, issue and read an apology, which apology will be drafted by our office. And 3, that you pay to our client damages in the sum of $350,000. As it relates to the foregoing demands, we request from you a written response within 7 days of the date of your receipt of this letter. Should you decline, however, to adopt this course, we have further instructions from our client to commence legal action against you, and to do so without any further notice to you. Yours sincerely, Nigel D. Stewart and Associates. All right, that was the letter that was sent to Ms. Joseph. Here is the letter that Ms. Joseph sent to Mr. Stewart. Dear sir, re-allegations of investment in the organic shrimp farm project in Victoria, St. Mark, by Dr. Keith C. Mitchell. We act in the matter at caption for Ms. Claudette Joseph of counsel, our client, to whom you have addressed a letter dated December 13, 2019, on behalf of Dr. Keith C. Mitchell, the Prime Minister of Grenada, your client. Our client takes very strong objection to the allegation contained in your letter that our client fabricated the statement that your client said that, quote, he too was an investor, unquote. In fact, we are of the considered view that the said allegation is maliciously false and actionable. But our client's posture at this juncture is simply that the facts will speak for themselves. We note the conclusions regarding inherent conflict of interest, unethical involvement, and the grave reflection on your client's integrity that have been made by your good self on behalf of your client. We do not wish to comment on your conclusions, nor are we prepared to engage you on the matter of the real or intended effect of your client's statements or utterances. Please note that your client is arguably the most prominent holder of a public office in Grenada and ought to expect that his utterances would be the subject of constant analysis and comment. Page 2. For the avoidance of doubt, your client instructs us to indicate to you as follows. 1. She did not fabricate the statement attributed to your client that, quote, he too was an investor, unquote. 2. There was no malicious intent or content in the comments made by our client regarding your client's utterance, but rather an objective analysis of the information presented on the project to date. 3. Our client, who is a political figure just as your client, has a duty and obligation to provide the general public with analysis and feedback on political matters in a fair and objective manner. 4. If our client's statement is defamatory of your client as alleged, then such defamation is as a direct result of the utterances, responsibilities, and status of your client, as you have already concluded, and not as a result of our client's statement. 5. Our client does not desire a legal battle with your client on this matter, but in the above premises, our client is not prepared to issue an apology, nor will she pay the sum demanded or any sum to your client. And finally, 6. The statement contained in your letter of December 13th that that our client fabricated the statement that your client said that he too was an investor constitutes a malicious falsehood and must be retracted forthwith. Please be guided accordingly. Signed, Anthony C.K. Hood, Justice Chambers. Mr. Hood is acting on behalf of Ms. Joseph.
Yes. Jerry, you're smiling, Jerry.
No,
welcome, Dwyer.
Thank you. Good evening. Sorry to be late.
Okay. I've heard of quite a few of these things, but this one has me intrigued, how it's backfiring, and I just wait. And what is beautiful here is the lawyers involved directly.
Oh, and I think we also need to put it on the table that here we have all this talk about integrity, and conflict of interest. But this lawyer is the husband of the Minister of Legal Affairs.
Yeah.
Okay?
Who's that?
He
The attorney who filed the lawsuit on behalf of.
Yeah. Hold on, no lawsuit's been filed. This is a
right.
Yeah. The one. Yeah.
The lawyer who has issued the letter is the husband of the Minister of Legal Affairs. So while we're putting all the facts on the table to talk about conflict of interest, I believe that is a very important piece that needs to be on the table, that this lawyer who is representing the Prime Minister is the husband of a cabinet minister.
Who's the Minister of Legal Affairs?
Who is none other than the Minister of Legal Affairs.
So put all that aside. My main thing on this is why do our leaders feel that they can batter and bully the people they're supposed to lead? How come nobody has gone to Al Jazeera and challenged anything Al Jazeera said? This matter is simply, what must I call it now? I'm actually looking for term, but this matter has arisen out of the Al Jazeera report. But nobody is talking about the Al Jazeera report. We have stayed absolutely quiet on that. All right? But this matter is suddenly so important that it demands a legal response.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is all collateral from the Al Jazeera report. That's what I was looking for. This is all collateral from the Al Jazeera report. None, whether it is Rosal Scared or Keith Mitchell, none of them have challenged Al Jazeera. Because why? Because the citizens are so small and inconsequential. Is that what it is? And we can frighten them with the courts, and we can bully them because they're afraid of the courts. Is that what it is? And so when you name a figure like $350,000, that is like, way past what people, so you could keep them quiet by that. You could, listen, if you won a case from Al Jazeera, think of the money that you can get rather than $350,000. It's ridiculous.
Jerry?
Good point, Jerry, because generally the inclination is to sue the person with the deepest pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, well...
That is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I don't claim to have any knowledge of Miss Joseph's pocket. None. But if you want to sue somebody for not sue, but if you want to tell somebody to pay you $350,000, you must have some kind of reasonable expectation that the person is able to pay.
No, it's not. No, there's no reason. I've seen this happening since so it's just no sense of a reasonable expectation of what they want to do is to drive you into bankruptcy. They don't want you to be able to pay. No. Don't get fooled. They do not want you to be able to pay. They want to drive you into bankruptcy. That's the intent.
Yeah, that's the idea, and it's also
it's
also intended to shut up speech in this case. But I have a question. So and maybe Dwyer can answer this. So can an attorney just send a letter off to somebody? Well, something like that, and just stipulate an amount that the person has to pay? How did they determine, that person incurred that amount of damages and so is deserving of that? Or is this something that a court is supposed to decide?
Well, attorneys do it all the time. And the quantum is really guided by precedent. The attorney writes a very strong letter. I don't know the details of the case which you all are discussing, but I'm just responding to the question.
Mm-hmm.
The attorney writes a strong and aggressive, and might I add, intimidating a letter as he or she can. And you start to think about well, how do I engage lawyers? How much is that going to cost? Can they win? How much will a legal opinion cost? And I think Jerry might have made the point, I'm not sure. People are afraid of getting involved in lawsuits because the costs are so much, sometimes intimidating. In fact, one of you mentioned that you usually go after I think it's Catherine, you usually go after the person in the deepest pockets.
I did.
Yeah, Margaret. Usually the person in the deepest pockets can afford the best lawyers. And so it goes both ways. But so the figure sometimes is just an arbitrary figure to scare the hell out of you. It really ought to be guided by precedent, the case law, and the person who receives the letter would ordinarily go to his or her lawyer and say, look, here's this letter, what do I do? The lawyer would say, well, you tell me the story. And if the lawyer listens well and does a little research and says, well, look, I think you'd lose this case, it might be best to settle. Then they can begin a negotiation. They could even respond if there's a claim or anything like that. And we have mediation, so these things can often be mediated as well. But to answer the question, the letter is not the end of anything, and sometimes it's the beginning of nothing.
Well, I'll tell you something, Dwyer. I don't know how many of you had a chance to listen to the press conference that was held a couple of days ago. But I'll tell you honestly, if what I heard at that press conference carries any weight, this thing is either not going anywhere or it's going to wind up with a big fist fight. Because Hood was really adamant that he ain't paying nothing. His client's not paying anything. Very adamant.
No, but George, I think he could be adamant because his client has the evidence upon which he could take that stance. And the evidence is incontrovertible. I mean, you could say that the evidence means something else if you want, and let the lawyers argue that. But based on the simple meaning of what was said, you can't say that she cannot interpret it to have meant that. I am no lawyer, but I can't see how you could get around that. And as Dwyer says, he's not privy to it, and maybe it's a good thing in a sense. Dwyer said that you could just speak to the issue, but
just speak,
I think in the end we should bring you. Yeah, we just let you speak as a lawyer hearing, but I believe in the end we should send you everything so that you get a sense of what is happening. And so the whole point, black people and Caribbean people afraid courthouse. It's the truth. It's the truth. In most neighborhoods, right?
Jerry, courthouse is a very justice is not cheap.
Exactly.
And that is why the man with the money so often prevails and gets the way. That is why the big thief who wears the three-piece suit is. When was the last time a big thief in St. Vincent went before the criminal court?
Exactly.
One of those suit thieves. So, who has the money controls the game. And to that extent, the justice system is compromised, not because those who administer it are unethical or doing anything. It's just that the small man doesn't have the power to litigate his rights very often, and I use the term small man generically, small man or small woman, and he is intimidated. He is intimidated from the process, and so justice doesn't reach him or her.
But Dwyer, you might say that, but haven't you lived? I don't know, but the setting in which I live, right? Two neighbors have a problem over the boundary over whose 4 o'clock run in whose yard. And the first thing they're going to do, it's the truth, the first thing they're going to do is put a lawyer upon you. And they go and sit down in a lawyer's office. And the lawyer is just as bad. Pay them $50 to write a letter. And the lawyer knows it's not going, but because he wants to put fear in the neighbor, and the neighbor doesn't want to go to court because this whole question of standing up in court and have to answer. People are terrified. You understand?
But you made a very profound point there, Jerry. I don't know if I don't even know if you were aware that you were making it. We are too combative. If neighbors have a problem, your mango tree is hanging over in my yard.
Right.
Certainly that is something we could work out amicably. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, in theory, yes, but it doesn't always work.
No, I say we can. Certainly it's something we can.
Yeah.
But we are not conditioned to be neighborly. We are conditioned to be combative. And the conundrum around which all of that spins is we can't be combative all the way because litigation can be a very expensive thing. And at the end of the day, it's like some doctors. If you go to some doctors, they will tell you, listen, Jerry, start to eat a plant-based diet. I'm going to teach you preventative practices. You are the leader of your life, and you have to take the lead. I'm just the backup guitar player in your life. You need to eat properly, you need to exercise, you need to de-stress and so forth. Another doctor might say, boy, I'm glad Jerry got high blood pressure. I'm glad he eating all of this stuff because that's money for me and that's prescriptions for me. And I own that little drugstore around the corner. Some lawyers would advise the neighbors, listen. And this is why I applaud former Chief Justice Byron when he introduced the mediation in the courts. Because mediation can do so much and is doing so much to prevent people going to actual legal hostilities. But I believe we really should be reconditioned to try to sort out these things between each other more amicably than having to resort to the lawyers, which only underscores and reinforces the hostility. Yes, yes, Jerry.
Dwyer, if you went and looked at the magistrate court and the matters that come before the magistrate court, a lot of them is the stuff I just talked about, you know.
Of course.
So
most of it is
often
ridiculous stuff.
Yes.
But
exactly. So when you see somebody at the level of a prime minister resorting to that, they know that there's that nascent fear. And I've lived in St. so that has been played out so many times. And I'm glad you mentioned the point about how costs are the right, because Prime Minister Gonzalez have sued a number of people. He named the cost and he got the cost he named.
How do you mean name the cost?
You heard what I said. The letter that went said, I want X. The man even went about saying, I want this money for my retirement. And the money he demanded, he got.
Wow.
Yeah, which is why, and that's why I asked the question. Yeah, that's why I asked. Yeah, that's why I asked the question in the beginning, because I thought it was like, you know, I mean, I guess I didn't realize that an attorney can write a letter like that and just automatically get the money.
Well, if you're foolish enough to give him, and usually
it's a court system.
It's a letter before action. We call it a letter before action. But this is why I said sometimes it's the beginning of nothing. Sometimes those letters, for example, if the lawyer says in his or her letter, I'm going to want $350,000 for my client and $35,000 for me. That's a hell of an expensive letter, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, if you get a letter from a lawyer on behalf of the leader of a country who feels or is acting as if he or she feels aggrieved at something you may have said, especially in a little country like ours, it could be extremely intimidating. And you could say, boy, I'm going to have to deal with this and yield to this if I want to eat bread in this land. And it could be construed in reasonable company that is an abuse of office, using the power of the office to intimidate citizens in the legal system. And so lawyers need to be very careful when they're writing letters on behalf of powerful people.
Careful.
Right.
Plus, powerful people have to understand that if they are people in the offices in which they sit, that they are fair game. And they have to stop using that to try to shut people up, because that's what it's about, just to shut people up.
Yeah.
But if you have an office like that, no, I'm not talking about somebody going and really saying something absolutely malicious. You understand? But there are things that come up as a result of the position you hold.
Oh, yeah.
But
right. Now, Jerry, hold on. Let us say welcome to Athi, and we're going to take a break at this time. And when we come back, we continue this discussion because we have another pre-action letter to look at from the Prime Minister of Grenada.
Wow.
Grenlec continues to celebrate 25 years of partnership and growth. So this December, we're giving every customer the chance to spin and win. Just pay your bill in full on or before December 18th. Then, on Wednesday, December 18th, join us at any Grenlec customer care location. Spin to win giveaways that will make this season even more festive. Hams, groceries, gift vouchers, wine, electricity vouchers, and more. Join the celebration. December 18th, spin and win with Grenlec. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
All right, guys, we're back. So hold your horses. Now, just before I turn it over to Beverly again, I'm sitting here chuckling at a comment on Facebook. TF Richard says, folks, have some mercy on the guy now. He's trying to recover the money he invested in the shrimp farm.
Yes, TF. That is TF for you.
Yeah.
I wonder if TF know that is such claims can be valued at $350,000.
Yeah, even more. You have to be very careful, TF.
I tell you.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yes. But folks, welcome back. Welcome to everyone. We are looking at the two pre-action letters which were issued by the lawyer representing Dr. Keith Mitchell, who is the Prime Minister of Grenada. We hope you didn't miss the first part of the show, but the first letter we looked at was a direct result of things that were said in Grenada from the Al Jazeera report. But the Prime Minister, I don't know if he has sent a pre-action letter to Al Jazeera, but he has certainly sent one to a lawyer in Grenada who is the public relations officer for the main opposition party, telling her that her words were defamatory, malicious, and she needs to pay the Prime Minister $350,000. So we continue. We have another pre-action letter. George, maybe you want to read those for us as well so we can just put everything in the discussion.
I'm turning into a spokesperson here tonight, eh?
Yes, man.
All
like
right.
your voice.
This letter was written to the owner of a radio station in Carriacou, Kimberly Mills, all right? Now, he carries a program done by a gentleman by the name of Kim Jones, during which Mr. Jones made some statements recently spurring this letter. Mr. Kimberly Mills, Hillsborough, Carriacou. Dear sir, allegations of corruption and ineptitude in government by Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. That's the reference line for this letter. We act for Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Our instructions are that on the 27th of November 2019 and on 28th November 2019, respectively, you caused to be rebroadcasted on Vibes 103 FM radio station the program entitled The People's Court, hosted by Kim Jones, during which time certain statements were made by the said Kim Jones, which explicitly and by natural implications amount to the following. 1. That the Prime Minister has maintained control over certain media houses throughout the state of Grenada by making bribes and other handouts to these organizations and individuals. 2. That the Prime Minister is wicked, corrupt, and crooked. 3. That the Prime Minister has benefited financially and otherwise, whether directly or indirectly, from the CBI program, the Garden Group Hotel project, and the call center project, and has done so to the tune of millions of dollars and to the detriment of the taxpayers of this country. There is no doubt at all that by implications, the foregoing not only impinged, excuse me a sec, Dwyer?
Impinged.
Impinged, okay. Thank you, Dwyer. Impinged, says here, I don't know why it's impinged, on the good name and reputation of the Prime Minister, but also the state of Grenada as a whole. By you causing the program to be aired on the said radio station without any proper investigation or without you making the necessary inquiries from the office of the Prime Minister or from other relevant government departments, our client concludes that you did so with malice, knowing that you have a wide listening audience, and also did so intentionally to cause damage to our client's reputation. We're therefore instructed to make the following demands on you. 1. That you promptly, and no later than within 7 days of the date of your receipt of this letter, issue and read an apology, which apology will be drafted by our office. 2. that the said apology will contain an undertaking by you not to cause any similar allegations concerning the Prime Minister to be rebroadcasted by you on the said radio station or by any other medium for that matter. 3, that you pay to our client damage in the sum of $150,000. As it relates to the foregoing demands, we request from you a written response within 7 days of the date of your receipt of this letter. Should we not hear from you within the stipulated time, or should you fail and or otherwise refuse to meet any of the foregoing demands, we have further instructions from our client to commence legal action against you and to do so without any further notice to you. Yours sincerely, Nigel D. Stewart and Associates. I rest my case.
So is that
I
one
find it
100?
interesting.
No,
I think you're going to make the same point, Margaret. Going to make the same point.
yeah. I was going to ask if it was
Because I find what is
$150,000.
challenged in that letter, no, I find what is challenged in that letter could be seen as being more grievous than the first letter. And
Right.
yet, this is $150,000.
$50,000, yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. But
That's
as I said
why
to you,
I tell you, it's a person's ability to pay. Because maybe in the eyes of the lawyer and his client, Miss Joseph will be able to find $350,000, but Mr. Jones will only be able to find $150,000. So you put the marker.
you're missing the point. It's not about ability to pay.
No,
It's
I
about
understand.
ability to knock you out.
Right. So it's not point taken and correction taken. So it will take more to bankrupt Miss Joseph than it will to bankrupt Mr. Jones. So maybe that is why the figures are staggered that way from that approach.
That's right.
But you see, let me tell you something in my honest opinion. A prime minister does not need to be responding to these because as Jerry and Dwyer said earlier, this is like two neighbors taking each other to court over whose polecock fly in whose yard and pick off them thing off them tree. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Hold on, Beverly. Hold on. The polecock ain't need to pick nothing. Just need to fly across the yard.
Just need to fly over there.
You can't think too far.
You see? So why is it that as the prime minister of a country, and I have to say a prime minister who has already been how you would say, attached to incidents where fraudsters have come into the country, where people of nefarious deeds have put their foot and hands into Grenada and things have happened. We've made international headlines in the worst kind of way. So we're not talking about someone with a squeaky clean reputation here that someone is going to hear something and say, oh my goodness, who are you talking about? The general response is, well, this has been going on since 1999 from the first attempt into offshore business, since this is coming out of the citizenship by investment. So your reputation is already tarnished. It ain't squeaky clean. Whether any allegations have been proven true or not, your reputation has been tarnished. It's like the man...
And you see, you're making a good point there. And the other side of that point is, how do they determine the value of their reputation?
Exactly.
How? The lawyers here, he might help us.
Well, a high-profile figure has more to protect. And that would be
no, do I speak up a little bit, do I?
a high-profile figure has more to protect. He or she is more broadly known. So he or she has more risk exposure by any defamatory attacks on him or her. So you will find in the case law that successful suits by high public figures have yielded greater awards by the court than successful suits by ordinary folks. But one thing I'm learning from this is that although I may be one of the exceptions to the rule, that when you are in politics, whether you are corrupt or not, you can get rich. Because if you are corrupt, you will get rich with your kickbacks and your thises and your thatties and so forth. And if you're not corrupt, and you get accused of being corrupt, you can get rich from lawsuits. I made a few dollars well when I was in government, suing people for defamatory words uttered about me. But I should have done some more. I wouldn't have had to work so hard now at the age of 71. So whether you're corrupt or not, you can make money in government. That's just a light moment. It's a light moment. Usually letters like this, in our business, we read them and read them over. So I don't want to make any pronouncements on that letter. And I didn't even hear it all clearly from George. You know, as stentorian and clear as his voice may be, I was getting a little static coming through. I didn't hear any call. I didn't hear any call for an amount payable to the law firm in that letter. There was no mention of that, George?
Anyway?
Or in the first letter?
No. None of them.
I guess the law firm will work out with the client.
The client, what percentage is it?
What percentage they will get in the end, yes.
Well, maybe that's a style. Here, the letter would include an amount for the lawyer up front. And it would not be a nominal sum. If the award itself was substantial, the fee for the lawyer would not be nominal.
Okay.
It would be
like 10% or so, at least.
It could be even as much as 10%. It could be. It's a crazy world we live in.
I know.
This is one of the things I like about the United States. While I believe that people should not violate the good name of public figures, the US system seems to give people a little bit more leeway than ours does.
Yeah, it does.
And so the things you hear said about Mr. Trump, if those things were said about Dr. Gonzalez or Dr. Harris here, or Gaston Brown or whoever, the courts would be saddled with lawsuits initiated by these leaders. So it's something, in fact, I think the British decision makers were looking at relaxing the laws of defamation with regard to public figures a little bit more, because they feel that public figures have to be more accountable than regular citizens.
Exactly.
But I take Jerry's point. I don't think all of these lawsuits are necessary. I really don't think they're all necessary. And sometimes when you respond to a lawsuit, if you do not go through with it, then people tend not to take it too seriously. And if you go through with it and win, sometimes people see you as a bully. It's like a bank. It's like a bank. You know, the last thing the bank does is forecloses on a delinquent mortgagor in these islands because they don't want to come across as being bullies, you know. So it's really a kind of catch-22 for the people in public life. You want to preserve your integrity, but you must first have it. You really must have it, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
But
just
another thing that is used often, Dwyer. No, sorry, Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, no, I was just going to give Dwyer a bit of trivia from the legal side that almost every journalism student in the U.S. know. The case that established that principle was Gertz v. Welch. Of the separation of a public person versus a private individual. So that because you seek that public office, you automatically would have given up some of those rights, and as such, you cannot expect the same level of protection that a private person would get.
Precisely so.
Correct.
To me, that is just fair.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a waste of, it's just a waste of time, a waste of resources for someone in the capacity of prime minister to be going after, in the case of Kim, a talk show host, and to be going after your political opponent in this manner. That alone does not speak good to your reputation.
That's a political opponent?
Claudette Joseph is a political opponent.
Oh, okay.
And the other fella is just a guy who hosts a talk show?
No. It's not against Kim right now, Beverly. It's against Kim Mills. That's who this letter was sent to. It's the radio station.
The radio station, sorry. Thanks for that correction.
Yeah, well, your prime minister is a former cricketer. And one of the indications, signs of a good batsman is to know which balls to leave alone. You can't
leave alone.
Exactly.
You gotta leave some of them alone, man.
Oh, yes, you gotta.
You can't play all of them.
You can't go after everything.
But let me show you something else that leaves the average citizen, and I watched it twice in St. Vincent. Because the Freedom of Information Act has not really been put into play. A person might say something, but they can hide the information.
Yep.
And you can't, Jerry, you see, like in the United States, you have to put that information out there. You put what you like, you have to put it there.
Very important point. Very important point.
I've seen situations where if the people had access to the information, right, as they ought to, the case would have been squashed. But they hide it because they know you could never get it.
It's not a matter of they ought to, you know, Jerry. Freedom of information is a constitutional right.
Yes.
It's a constitutional right. The Freedom of Information Act is the legislative extension or articulation of a constitutional provision. And we have a Freedom of Information Act which is still not in effect. 30 how many years?
Exactly.
36 years after this constitution was adopted. So it does tell you that politicians have been and using and continue to use that shield to protect themselves. And it really would be disgraceful. And I'm not speaking about Dr. Mitchell's case because I have no facts. It would be disgraceful if a politician were to litigate successfully a matter which, if the Freedom of Information Act were operational, he or she would lose.
I have seen it though.
Well,
because the other thing with the Freedom of Information Act is that, and I think I heard the same, you probably could tell us, like he dropped off. The same thing.
Said he's taking a break. He'll soon be back.
Okay. They take the matter through the parliament, you know. They have a whole set of song and dance about it, you know.
Yeah, we know.
But it never gets assented to. No, the reason why they have done it in all of these islands is that it was part of the Millennium Goals, right? The Millennium Goals said this, and this is one of the things. So they went and they made a big hue and dance and stuff, but it has not been assented to. It's not law.
You know, let me tell you something. Let me be blunt. You know when we'll know that our people have awakened? from their slumber and from their civic torpor. When we kick out all of these bums in government who don't want to pass these acts, kick out all of them. If you can't live with the Freedom of Information Act, the Integrity Act, the Public Service Act, the Organized Crime Act, the Procurements and Contracts Administration Act, fully operational. If you can't live with those, fully operational, you have no right in public office. Because you plan to thief. You plan to thief.
Yeah. In some countries where they have brought in integrity law, the people who need to declare, some of them realize that, listen, I can't handle this, and they leave, and I have no problem with that.
Right.
Right?
That's
if you
fair.
feel that this is more than you could cook, go.
Yes, of course.
Or if you feel that it's going to expose you in areas that you don't feel you want to be exposed, go. I'm cool with that. But don't stay there and want to still use it as a cover. No.
Absolutely not. You know, and all of what you have both said just underlines my point, which I made earlier, that these public figures, and especially someone like the Prime Minister, should just not waste time and resources in sending out these pre-action letters or pursuing any kind of legal action along the lines of what people may say in certain circumstances. You put yourself there. It's not like somebody up and say, oh, I hear that George Grant invents in the shrimp farm. Eh?
Is that true, George? Uh-oh.
you know? Oh, please, it's just too ridiculous, and that's why people interpret it as trying to shut up people. Why do you put yourself out there? It's like you go and stand in the middle of a highway and dare somebody to run over you. You know? I am here, I hold out my two hands, run over me if you're there. How dare you drive so close to me? You go and put yourself in the line of fire. So when the fire comes, don't try to get upset with the people who light the fire. It's a firing range. What are you doing out there?
But you see very often, and Jerry put it more articulately than I will, a lot of them like to be in the limelight, but they're afraid to be in the spotlight.
No, that is articulate.
Oh, Dwyer.
But they're afraid of the spotlight.
Oh, Dwyer.
I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect? It's
Beverley?
and again, sorry, go ahead.
Finish. Go ahead, Dwyer. You finish off. I want to ask
okay. I bow to you, sir. I bow to you, sir.
Okay. Beverley, what about the letter from Kim Mills' attorney? You're not going to share this one?
Okay, you want me to go ahead and read it?
Okay, I have it all queued up here, but if you want to read it, go ahead.
No, man, you go ahead, George. You go right
He's the
ahead.
reader.
You are the reader for tonight. What was that?
I'm the reader.
Yes.
Okay. This letter was written to the attorney Nigel D. Stewart and Associates by another attorney, and this one acting on behalf of Kim Mills, Lisa Taylor. And it says, Dear Sirs, your letter dated December 6th, 2019, directed at Mr. Kimberly Mills of Hillsborough, Carriacou, has been passed to us for response. Paragraph 2 of your letter refers to certain statements made by one Kim Jones, about which your client complains. We note, however, that these statements have not been set out in your letter. In order for Mr. Mills to properly consider your requests, he is entitled to confront and consider the actual words complained of, rather than a summary characterization as to the meaning of those words, as your letter purports to. In these premises, Kindly provide us in your response with a statement containing the actual words complained of in order that we may advise our client accordingly. We await your response. Yours truly, Lisa Taylor and Company.
That's a good letter.
I like
That's a
that
good letter.
response.
That's appropriate.
No, I love it. I
love that response.
I love
Fun.
it. Because you know what that forces you to do? To face exactly.
But what the letter before action, the complaint letter, typically would contain the verbatim,
the defamatory statement.
Exactly. You know?
Have to say what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it typically would include those. I didn't hear it, but I did say earlier that I really don't make pronouncements on letters of this nature unless I'm fully acquainted with the details, because one word could throw you left or right, you know? It did sound a little vague to me, though.
Yes.
It did sound a little vague.
It did sound vague when I looked at the letter. I said, okay, I ain't no lawyer.
I keep telling y'all, these things are to intimidate.
Yeah.
That's their main function, to intimidate.
And Jerry, that's exactly what came across at the press conference this week with Claudette Joseph and Cashton Hood.
Yeah, because why? Oh my goodness, I don't know. Maybe I am absolutely sure your perspective on this issue is a result of where you are standing and how you look at issues. And I believe I stand on the side of right-thinking and level-headed people. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So someone says out in the public, oh, the Prime Minister wicked. You go get a lawyer to write them. To some pre-action letter, somebody said the Prime Minister wicked and that is damaging his reputation. So you go send out some letter.
Yeah, because suppose the person decide to do that because somebody says that and he hears that and he tries to sue them because they say he's wicked. It gets ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous and childish.
But hold on. Let's go the other way now. Somebody speaks of the Prime Minister in all the sugary, lying fashion. That is this, and this. But that's acceptable. Do you stop people and say, oh, you mustn't speak of me like that? Really?
Because what you're saying is not true. What you're saying is not true, so don't say it. No, you don't.
But they accept all of that.
Yeah. If your skin is so thin, don't go in public office. It's not the place for it.
Stay out of that.
Boy. The skin does get thin when you get in power. Opposition skin, tick, tick, tick. Government skin.
Until you get into office.
Tin.
We have them here. We have them here. You can't sneeze hard. They cuss you or get their operatives on social media.
Oh, yes. And they have some operatives on social media. Boy, I personally wonder if they get paid.
Wait, hold on, stop. What is this fancy work? You mean the attack dogs? Operatives.
Yeah.
They have some attack dogs that they put on sick and...
I personally wonder if they get paid because...
Of course, Beverley. We're doing things for free now.
Exactly so.
Thank you.
Except us. Except us.
You're right.
You're so right about that. The passion and the viciousness with which these people come across. You're right.
Nasty, vitriolic.
Very, very nasty, vitriolic. That's the word.
Yeah.
Really, really nasty. But we're going to take another break, and hopefully by the time we come back, Atha will be back with us because we want to look at Dominica's new cabinet and that swearing-in ceremony, Jerry.
Christmas safety tips. Always unplug Christmas tree lights before leaving home or going to sleep. Check your tree lights and outdoor lights for damage each year before you use them. Discard lights with frayed wires, loose connections, and cracked sockets. Do not overload your wall outlets or extension cords. Remind children never to touch lights or outlets. Select lights appropriately. Never use indoor lights outside or vice versa. Happy holidays from Grenada.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, we are back with a cast of usual suspects. Top left, Catherine. Right below her, there's Beverly. Just to the left of Beverly, Margaret, all collared up tonight. To her left, Dwyer Astaphan, decked off like a football player tonight. And Mr. Jerry George, chewing gum. That's all you could afford to eat tonight, Jerry? That's all you could afford to eat tonight, gum?
That's all.
That's all.
Big gas.
All right.
Margaret, as usual, comes there fully, and offers nothing.
Caviar. Caviar.
Send over some, Mag. Send it over. Help out your brethren.
I know, right?
Yeah, man.
Beaming it over. I'm beaming it.
Yeah. Right. So we on to look at Dominica, Jerry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, after quite a rambunctious campaign, everything seemed to have settled down rather quietly in Dominica. One of the things that I want to speak to is the size of the cabinet and the government in Dominica. And it speaks to a growing issue I find that we have in the region. We have all of these new ministries, and it seems that everybody who runs has to get a ministry at his back. So that's good.
Welcome back, Athy. Happy.
Yeah.
We're just about to talk about
Dominica.
Wow, we're about a lot of things. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry. Sorry.
Yeah. So the size, to me, just the Prime Minister alone has what, 6 or 7 portfolios. And we seem to be just multiplying the names of ministries.
Yeah,
And
that's.
you
I
ask
mean,
yourself,
duplicating.
I'm not, some of them is not just, some of them, I'm not even so sure if it's duplication, some of them are, because it just seems to be, to use the Prime Minister's term, to be very aspirational. Because if you went behind them and looked to see what they achieve, ain't much that they achieve. But you have to find space for them. And he probably could tell us this. Has the Prime Minister given his wife any kind of position? Ati? I don't think Ati is hearing us. Yeah, but it comes down to even his wife. I mean, I don't know.
No, Jerry, you started off on a note, Jerry, which I think is so. Don't just pass it over so easy.
Okay.
We have more ministers per capita than countries like, of course, the United States, Australia, the UK. You know, 60, less than 70,000 people in Dominica. But you have 17 ministers. So even if you should take it up to say you have 70,000 people on the island of Dominica, you have a minister for every 4,000 persons. Where are you getting money from to pay them?
But you have to.
You have
That's
to.
the point.
And not just pay them, but they have to maintain a certain lifestyle as a minister. So where are these 4,000 people in Dominica who, as the fellow illustrated before the election, working for $4.50 an hour? Where are they getting money to pay? Where are these 4,000 people getting money to maintain each minister? It's, I think we can't see you. Please adjust your camera. I don't know if you're hearing us. It's just not sustainable. So don't pass over that so easy. And it's not
I put it on the table mainly for us to discuss it because I actually find it outrageous that you know, a small country like that, with such a small population, needs so many people to manage it.
Yes, one minister for every 4,000 persons. You want to tell me that we are that inept?
Yes, we are.
But what else could you put it? I mean, not that what else you could put it down to. Every time somebody wins a seat, you have to give them a reward. And that is not what representation as an MP is about. Because you do not go and contest an election to become a minister. You go and contest an election to represent the people.
But that's what doesn't happen. That's precisely what does not happen. In a place like Dominica, for example, the Red Clinic, as it is called, is the Prime Minister's clinic day when people go to see him. It's not true for the other ministers.
You know?
In other words, in their constituencies, they don't have the same prominence to be able to afford to do what the Prime Minister is doing. So even though they have, because the truth of the matter, what we have been doing these days is that we have been electing people not based on their credentials, not based on what they bring to the table. People are just elected for the Prime Minister. And we just gone totally after the truth.
Yeah.
So Jerry, you're telling me that even if the other people ran on the Prime Minister's party's ticket, they don't have the same privileges and stuff that the Prime Minister has?
No.
When dealing with their constituencies?
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So, okay, so he is basically God. And so everything goes through God.
And what has happened
I
recently?
run things in Dominica. Don't forget the East, you know.
But you see, I keep saying, you know, and you point it out, but people don't pay attention. In St. Vincent, right? Let me talk about some of the things I know. It's exactly that same situation. People grumble about it. In fact, in the case of the opposition has been aggressively presenting that if a person wins a seat, the person should be given some way to represent the people who elected them, right?
Of course.
Put that aside for what it's worth. Put that aside for what it's worth. But in St. Vincent, the Prime Minister has so much money that is allocated to him and his ministry. And he says it's for when people come to him. He has to be in a position to help them.
To give them a change.
Yeah. So people on the road say, I'm going to my parents' office boy to see if we can get some money. That's how it has come down to.
And that's what the Red Clinic in Dominica is all about. It's people going to the, literally
That's right.
going
That's
to
how
the
they
Prime
mean.
Minister for money, for a handout, for cash. So when you
Formula
look
for underdevelopment.
of course.
That's the formula for underdevelopment.
Yes. But we like it. We like it.
You know,
and you have a situation.
And formula for depravity too.
Oh, all of them go together. Underdevelopment and depravity go together. They're twins.
They go together. I agree.
Siamese twins.
Right.
They're joined at the hip.
Yep.
Not at the brain, at the hip. Lower down the anatomy.
But Margaret, that's exactly what it is. The people who have been elected, they are simply proxies. They carry no weight. Because some people say in these parts that even if the Prime Minister put a piece of stick in a constituency, they're going to vote for it. They're not voting for the persons.
No, but
you know, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I mean, if that's the situation on the ground, that's the situation on the ground. But I mean, can't people see that there's something inherently wrong with that? I mean, can't people? I mean, my simple mind tells me that the whole idea behind a representative democracy, which is what we're supposed to have in the Caribbean, is that I elect someone to represent me, as opposed to all of us meeting in the market square and can't get to anything done. So I would expect my representative to solve my problems. I don't see why I should have to go to the Prime Minister directly. You understand? And I'm talking under normal circumstances. I don't see why. So let's suppose I'm living wherever in St. Vincent or wherever in Dominica. Why should I have to leave there to trek down to Roseau or Kingston or wherever to speak to the Prime Minister in order to get something done, when I elected somebody from my area as my representative to speak on my behalf, to seek my interests, to voice my concerns, to address my ills and everything else? I expect my representative to know what my problems are best, because my representative comes from my particular area. And I mean, what is wrong with these representatives? You want to tell me that these representatives don't for themselves see something wrong with the fact that they are just patsies?
But it's worth in a certain degree, Margaret. Look at it this way also. Oftentimes, what the Prime Minister does in that period of time, because he knows he has these seats, he then targets a constituency where he feels he could have some influence. And that's where he spends the money. Because he has the money, not the person who lost the seat. Are you with me? So he will target people in that constituency, slowly but surely.
So we want to look at some of the...
Jerry's frozen?
Jerry's frozen.
Yeah, he just froze, yeah.
Okay, so until Jerry unfreezes, we want to look at some of these.
That's if God allows him to be unfrozen.
Some of these ministries created in the new Dominica government, right? The Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, is the Minister for Finance, Resilience, Economic Affairs, Investment, Planning, Sustainable Development, Telecommunications, and Broadcasting. Then you have one Reginald Austri, who is the Senior Minister and Minister of Housing and Urban Development. Then you have a Minister of National Security and Home Affairs. Then you have a Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Business and Diaspora Relations. Then you have a Minister of Blue and Green Economy. You see, so I don't know how many economies Dominica has, because the Prime Minister is Minister of Economic Affairs, but you have another minister for the blue and green economy, agriculture, and national food security. You have a Minister of Tourism, International Transport, and Maritime Initiatives, Minister of Youth Development and Empowerment, Youth at Risk, Gender Affairs, Senior Security, and Dominicans with Disabilities. You have a Minister of Trade, Commerce, Entrepreneurship, Innovation, Business, and Export Development. And this is why earlier I mentioned the duplication of the ministries. Because if you have a Ministry of Economic Affairs, Investment, and Planning, isn't this a duplication of a Ministry of Trade, Commerce, Entrepreneurship, Innovation, Business, and Export Development?
Definitely. Yeah.
Then you have a Minister of Governance, Public Service Reform, Citizen Empowerment, Social Justice, and Ecclesiastical Affairs. Right. Then you have a Minister of the Environment, Rural Modernization, and Kalinago Upliftment. You have a Minister of Health, Wellness, and New Health Investment. Yes. So you have a Minister of Investment, who is the Prime Minister. But that investment obviously does not include health, because he go back and appoint somebody for new health investment.
New health investment?
Mm-hmm. You have...
So what is that?
My dear,
it don't have to be anything at all it's aspirational.
Listen, you have a Minister of Public Works and the Digital Economy. So you have a blue and green economy, you have the economy, and now you have a digital economy. You have Minister of Sports, Culture, and Community Development. Minister of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence. So...
I'm amused to that. I'm really amused.
How many ministers is that, Beverly?
It's 13 ministers.
13 ministers.
It's actually 14, because the Prime Minister is a minister. So you have these 13.
Yeah. So you have 4 backbenchers.
Plus the Prime Minister, yes.
4 backbenchers.
Well, I guess everybody needs a pension.
No, well, the parliament.
And then they have senators along with this.
They have how many parliamentary secretaries? I said they have 2. So I am not sure. I'm not sure from this list that I have where the parliamentary secretaries are placed. One seems to be in the digital economy. Oh my goodness. I mean, to me, some of the names of these ministries, I don't know. They don't make no sense. They make no sense.
But as I tell you, they're aspirational.
Look at the size of Dominica. Look at the structure of Dominica. And you have a Minister of Urban Development and a Minister of Rural Development. Really?
Oh my God. To put it blunt to me, they sound like fake ministries. You know that it's fake, you just fantasizing things, just fake ones. Fictitious things, fictitious characters. Just make
because
them up.
All kind of fancy thing. I tell all
yeah,
you
because
the
like the one she called with senior affairs or whatever, youth this and that, couldn't that just be bundled under social affairs?
This is youth
all it is.
development and empowerment, youth at risk, gender affairs, senior security, and Dominicans with disabilities.
Yeah, like we're creating fake characters. They don't exist.
You see, it's not only citizens you have to placate, you know. You have to placate your colleagues as well. And
well, you see the problem right there, why is that they have too many of them. They have too many constituencies. I'm sorry.
Well, my concern is not how many constituencies you have, is how much placating you think you need to have to do.
Because you have that
actually go
ministry.
together.
Wait, Jerry.
It could be.
You have that ministry there. Youth development, empowerment, youth at risk, gender affairs, senior security, and Dominicans with disabilities. But you still have another ministry, you know, for citizen empowerment and social justice. So what's the population of
what is the
Dominica?
difference between citizen
60.
empowerment and youth empowerment? Aren't youth citizens?
And so we will
And not citizens.
No, there is an age. So if you are a certain age, you're under youth empowerment. But if you're a certain age, you're under citizen empowerment.
Maybe senior citizen
like
then. I don't know.
And yeah, because they have senior thing for seniors too.
Uh-oh. No.
What's the population of Dominica again?
60,000.
Oh
Maybe
my
60,000 we get it there.
goodness. But with a minister for every 4,000 persons, this is the kind of thing which you create, and then you put a strain on the country to find money to maintain these ministers and ministries.
But that's what I was thinking. I mean, that's a real big budget bill. That's salaries that, you know, could have been channeled somewhere else.
Of course.
Well, on the other side of the coin, remember placation.
Yeah.
They could have been left as backbenchers, and then you have to put them on boards or whatever it may be to augment their salaries. Listen, let's face it, we live in an extremely mercenary culture. The 21st century global environment, with some notable exceptions, but not enough, is mercenary, materialistic, and self-serving. People go into politics, not all, but some, too many, go into politics, not for the good that they can do, but for the good that they can garner for themselves. Okay? So when you're dealing with characters like this, I mean, I can't help, I'm a blunt person.
Dwyer, I couldn't have said it better myself. And I was just chuckling at this comment here on Facebook. Somebody called my name. They said, Beverley, there are a lot of rivers in Dominica. So if the river is too heavy, then the Minister of Urban Development would not be able to go up. So the Minister of Rural Development.
People are fooling this, you know. Has to take charge.
Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh. This sounds like one of Louise Bennett's poems, you know. Mr. Uriah preach. Uriah, when rainfall are passing sick, my son Uriah preach. Oh, my goodness.
When these ministries are taken up by people, I've seen it in my years in government, and without speaking ill of anybody, I had the cause to rub shoulders with counterparts from other territories. And the sad truth is that a lot of people who are occupy positions of ministers of government are ill prepared for those positions. You can win a seat. You can win a seat in what is largely a contrived election and get into parliament under the aegis of a constitutional dictator prime minister, and everything, he's the fulcrum or she's the fulcrum of everything. They even undermine their colleagues. So if you go to your colleague, let us say in Beverley, and I'm being notional, I don't know anything about St. Vincent politics, but just to bring it home to Jerry, the representative will say, well, I'll try to get it done for you. 6 months will pass, nothing done. They go to the big man. And the big man will say, well, how come Jerry ain't get that do for you? I will deal with it. So the citizen in Beverley going to say, Jerry is a waste of time. If I want anything, I go into the big man.
That's
and so the big man undermines his colleagues. And so everything, he becomes the fulcrum of the entire machinery of government and politics and favor. Okay? Including...
That's what he wants.
And that's what we want to. Including the granting of ministries. And I tell you, I have been around the block a few times, the ministerial block. And I'll repeat it. Too many people become ministers of government in the Caribbean who are not prepared for the work. I went to law school. In law school, we read a lot, don't we? I read more as a minister than when I was a law student. I took home work every night for the first maybe 4 months. I used to go to the office at 6 o'clock in the morning to learn the job and sometimes get home at 11 o'clock in the night. You have to learn the job.
That happening these days, I could tell you that.
And you have to understand that you're not only a minister responsible for certain portfolios, but you're first and foremost a parliamentarian representing an area, because the ministerial salaries are paid out of your parliamentary post under our arrangements here. I mean, I remember, well, I'll write that in my book. That's a salacious story. But they up and down the world getting per diems, staying, I mean, I could tell you of ministers, they put you in a hotel for $300 a night in Miami. And the minister said, this is not up to my standard. And he moves to a $500 a night hotel. And this would be a man whose car seats were all torn up days before the election.
Exactly.
And shortly after the election, they're wearing $2,000 and $3,000 suits. They have $200,000 cars, and they're living like Sammy Davis. They have all the money in the world and all the power.
And that's why...
And basically, full of it. Flatus vocis.
So wrong.
Flatus vocis. Hot ear.
That is so wrong.
Many of the people we put are not prepared for ministerial office and the service from any aspect.
But Dwyer,
yes,
the
sir.
Prime Minister says it. If I put a stick in that constituency, people will vote for it. It so happened that the stick that we have in many instances are body.
Well, that's what they want.
But they're no different than the stick.
They want
exactly. But hold on. When you described what, like you used the fictitious Bardi situation, that I know that happened last week. Last week, somebody gave me a story like that. But here's what he's also doing. He's also keeping the representative in that area in line, because he gets the job done, and the representative looks bad. And now what is the representative trying to do? He's trying to do everything to make, it's a sick situation.
That is where most, Jerry, that is where most of the undermining takes place. Where you have more effective representatives and ministers, because he wants to make sure he keep them down the pecking order. I mean,
Right.
this thing is cannibalistic in the extreme, you know.
Oh,
Damn.
yes.
And you have these people, they're glad, they're happy puppies. They're glad to be a minister of government. Honorable Jerry
Happy
George,
puppies is right.
Honorable Dwyer Astaphan.
Yes.
They're happy puppies.
Mm-hmm.
Honorable this and going on with all kind of arrogance and petulance towards people. And they can't even run a ministry. They can't run a cola and bread shop.
Run ministry.
I've heard instances where the Prime Minister speak to these people in such a fashion, right? It is claimed in one instance that this PS literally, they blame the death on the way she was treated. The kind of language is being used, and these people can't do nothing. They can't say nothing, they can't do nothing. And then you send them out in the constituency, and they can do nothing for the people in the constituency because they have no resources.
No, the Prime Minister has it all.
And this is why the nature of our governance is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so the citizen sees the Prime Minister as the be all and the end all.
That's right. That's the plan. And the Constitution is the platform upon which that culture can be nurtured.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the platform for that. So they become.
We heard it last couple of weeks that as the Prime Minister, I have the power to call elections when I want it, when it's convenient to me.
For me,
it has nothing to do with anybody else.
You know, every single other person is just a prop.
Proxy.
You know, a prop or a proxy, because this is about the PM, nobody else.
Nobody else.
And the sooner people get that, is the sooner we will start looking at the constitution we have to make the necessary changes. And also the sooner we will start looking at how we operate as citizens to enable this kind of behavior. Mm-hmm. Happy puppies, as Dwyer says.
I like that.
You have a lot
from hungry hyenas to happy
puppies.
Happy puppies.
You know?
I love that.
And you know the thing about some of these prime ministers, before they get elected, you know, for example, suppose Jerry and I are in the same party, and Jerry is the leader. So when we're fighting to get into government, I get a call from Jerry, say, hey, Dwyer, Jerry here, bam, 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 whatever. We go in England, we're going to bang up Boris Johnson. I say, okay, let me go, man. Or we do whatever. Call me again, Dwyer, Jerry here, whatever. As soon as he win, I get a call, hey, Dwyer, PM here. All of a sudden, he ain't Jerry no more.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with these people. All of a sudden, he's not PM, he ain't Jerry George no more.
You know, go back to the story.
You know what I used to do when I was in office? When I was in office.
Go back to the story in Algeria, Dwyer. Go back to the story in Algeria. The fella say that once the man got the passport, he couldn't call him by name no more.
Exactly.
Call him
Excellency.
Excellency.
I am so rude, you hear me? When people call you, usually they'll call you. Your ministerial colleague would call you on your direct line. So Jerry would call and say, boy, Dwyer, look, I have an issue here with this thing with boom. In my ministry. Is something happening in your constituency? We talk about it. You have some governments around here where when the prime minister wants to talk to a minister, he doesn't take up the phone and call the minister, you know. He have his secretary call the minister and said, Minister George, hold for the PM.
Oh, yes.
I never hold for no PM. Hold for no PM because before we were in government, I didn't have to hold for him. He called me straight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He called me straight. We are on the same team. We fight in the same fight, the cause for the country. So anytime you see, I will get a call. Well, not anytime, but most of the time. And that's because I'm rebellious that way. I just take offense to it. You have me waiting.
I agree.
Minister Astaphan, please hold for the PM. I said, well, he can't call me direct.
All of a sudden, he's more important.
He's no longer Jerry, he's PM.
He's the prime. The prime minister, don't forget.
He's more important than you.
And we elevate them, we give them the power, you see?
Yes, we enable it. Anyway, folks, we're going to run out of time very, very soon. And we just want to hear from the suspects, your reflections on 2019 and what you're looking forward to in 2020. So, Jerry, you take that discussion away.
You want me to start?
I don't want you to start. I want you to host the discussion. I don't want you to
host it.
Start.
Let me say something. Let me say one of the biggest achievements, perhaps, of Mek We Chat is all end up on Al Jazeera.
That's true.
You notice how he extricates himself from that one?
Oh, yeah, he said, all you know. It's all you know.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden, it's all you.
It's all you.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yes.
Anyway, joke aside, but seriously, I mean, the fact that that we were able to hold our own and and the focus for such a discussion, I thought we should really commend ourselves. And I believe there's a lot more. More people are coming to find. We haven't done a lot of marketing, and sometimes I like things to grow organically. But more and more people, whenever they find this program, don't seem to be able to just leave it. I had a call last week out of somebody listening to the program last week and was able to tell me some information about one of the things that we discussed. And the person called in a fairly confidential manner. Because I think people, at the end of the day, respect what we are doing. We might not take ourselves seriously enough, but I believe, I'm just saying that because I believe every time we come here, we realize that we have to do that. And we have touched quite a number of very serious issues over the year. So perhaps let me leave people to say what they thought was one of the most significant things that we dealt with this year. Margaret is smiling because she has to start.
Or maybe Catherine.
What we did dealt with this year? Trying to remember now.
Yeah, we were.
I mean, there've just been so many that it's quite difficult to really, just pick one thing. The sad part of it is that so much of what we spoke about seemed to revolve around the same thing over and over again. The level of corruption that we see within the region, the incompetence, all of that negative stuff, which really doesn't help us a whole lot, particularly the people who really need it. Because inevitably, in situations like that, it's for people who can afford it or who are at a level where they're better able to deal with some of the issues. It's bad enough for them, and it's compounded for the person who's at the bottom end of the scale and really cannot help themselves. So that's been kind of like one of the sad things about these discussions. But again, I think they're useful in terms of pointing things out that needs to be done, and hopefully people can jump on board or see it as some sort of inspiration to move forward and to get up and get things done. I mean, even if you get one person moving, it's better than nobody moving at all. So I think, from that perspective, it was worth it.
Yeah, so I was thinking about
to what you were saying. You talk about a level of corruption.
John,
Yes,
can I hear you loudly enough?
Pardon me?
Yeah, speak up.
I didn't hear you, Jerry.
No, I wasn't hearing you.
We weren't hearing you.
No, Max was talking about the level of corruption. I think that has been very pronounced. But just just as pronounced, and I don't think you can put them necessarily under the same blanket, is the caliber of governance that we seem to have in the region right now. I mean, things don't necessarily have to be corrupt to reflect bad governance. And we have seen a lot of bad governance in the Caribbean. And I'm a little bit concerned that it's causing a level of frustration. And I can't help but ask myself, you know, is it at some point just gonna snap? I really admire you guys, us guys, for what we're doing, and that because we have a fairly high profile, we're able to open the eyes of the people, not just here, but internationally, to what's going on in the region, which makes us the enemies of a certain segment of society. But I admire you guys, and I want you to keep on trucking, please, because something has to be done. We just can't continue wandering aimlessly out there. And am I right in saying wandering aimlessly? Because the people who are creating all the corruption and the bad governance, they know damn well where they're going. So it's not an aimless thing. But something has to be done. And I'm asking that the public become a little bit more acutely aware of what's going on and speak up. Speak up. Don't be afraid. You know, they see what happens to people like me, and look at what Claudette Joseph and Kim Jones, and you know, we come under attack. But we can't let that stop us. We can't let that stop us. We have to keep on speaking out. And I want to encourage all of you folks there on the panel tonight to do that. I am so happy. One of the great things that I thought that happened in the last year was the addition of Dwyer. You know, this guy, I didn't even know a Dwyer Astaphan existed. And then he shows up on the forum and just turned things around. He sort of rejuvenated the forum. And then I found out not only is he an attorney, but the man has a background in politics as well. So he's able to look at it from both sides. And Dwyer, that has been a major, major asset to Mek We Chat. Thank you. You know, RT's another one. I'm sorry he's not around right now, but RT's another one who's made the most valuable contribution to what we're trying to do here, because he too has been on the political side of things. So he knows. And Bev, well, what can I say about you? You're haunted.
Somebody finally got the guts to say it.
Yeah. Catherine, I mean, you just floor me from time to time. Most of the time, like me, you sit very quietly and listen. But that's important.
Now, what I wanted to say.
We're learning. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, what I wanted to say from, it's a year now, over a year now, like 2018, 2019. From 2018, Grenada election had me deflated. Then we've gone through that part, no change at all. And then we look forward to having some change in Dominica. No change comes. And then I reached the conclusion, I said, Lord, we have to continue with this continuation of duplicate governance in this region. Only duplicate. What do we do? And somebody said to me, Catherine, we got to devise a plan or be creative in how we work with this duplicate, because this is all we have to work with. It wouldn't change. Sorry to be hopeless, but I don't think it would change. But I think what we got to work with it and get creative and see how we could work with these, how we could work with this situation what we got. But at the end of the year is ending now, and I feel very deflated, and I feel very sorry for the people in Dominica right now. I'm feeling their pain. I'm feeling that depression, that frustration. They never have it getting changed. When are they going to get some changes? I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm feeling really deflated after it. So I don't think I have anything joyous to speak about for the past year or nothing like that. Everything
not
is
even
really...
Brexit?
We're not talking about that. This is all right. I'm talking about back home. I'm talking about Caribbean at the moment. Sorry, but
Catherine.
that's fine. That's all right. If we are talking about that, that's fine.
Catherine.
But yes, Dominica, I'm really, really, really sad to end the year with that, honestly.
Catherine.
That's how I ended the year. Yes, dear.
I understand your depression fully. And it's not just Dominica, it's happening here. Those of us who live here, we know what is happening here, okay? But Catherine, call me an eternal optimist, if you will. But you know what, girl? I really do believe that there's going to be change. I really continue to believe that there's going to be change. There's an old people have a saying, the longest rope have an end.
Yeah.
I see you nodding your head, Dwyer. Let me hear you.
Pioneers always coming at this stage, right? Pioneers always have the tough bits to do. And the important thing is just to keep the focus. I think a lot of people have learned a lot of stuff first that people took for granted. You see, we take it for granted because we say it and we understand. But for a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff that we say that's brand new to them, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can say, for example, even on the Dominica situation, it is work that we did made a lot of people in the region pay attention to the Dominica situation. Otherwise, Dominica would have come like it has happened in the past. The election would have happened. Maybe you'd have heard about something and it would have gone its way. But the work that we have done have spread it. So people started to look. People, I heard a conversation was in the supermarket, I think, this week, when people could not believe that there was a country that you didn't have IDs to vote with. And I smiled to myself. I said, good, they're getting a message. They couldn't believe it, that you actually have a country where people vote in elections, but they don't have no way to identify themselves. And it's when people get this level of saying, wait, what's happening? You start to look internally. And I feel that we have some serious issues that are going to attack us next year. But in a sense, we have laid the foundation for dealing with some of these issues, the banking issue, the economic issue. There are lots of stuff that is going to come at us. And all I'm saying to us is that we have to be very prepared to lead the discussions wherever we can. And I just believe that's what we have taken on that job. We just have to go with it.
Dwyer, let me hear you
now. I want to thank you folks for allowing a street dog like me.
Oh.
Happy puppy. Happy puppy.
Street dogs don't get sick fast though. We don't need special dog food. We eat anything. And I am what you call a dumb pan retriever. That's a special kind of street dog. So I thank you all for having me. This really has been not just a pleasure, but an inspiration and an education for me, really. Sitting with you guys and getting your different perspectives. What excites me about what we're doing, and I am more optimistic than my darling Brexit sister in England. I am more optimistic for us. Good. The progress does not come in a straight line. It's a meandering path that will frustrate you if you allow it to. You have to be almost maniacal in your pursuit of what you think is righteous for your region. So what I've witnessed and what I've participated in and what I encourage us to continue doing is to be civically provocative, to be institutionally provocative, to be advocates for better governance and for more responsible citizenship.
Yeah.
To be advocates for a more unified region for all of the good reasons. and advocates for enlightenment among our people. This reminds me of Conrad's book, Heart of Darkness. We are living in an area of political and civic darkness, which is a bit of an oddity given the fact that there's so much knowledge in the world today and so easily accessible, yet we live in so much darkness because somebody has a plan to keep the darkness and keep the light out. And I believe we are an agent for removing the darkness and replacing it with light. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not being lofty or pie in the sky thing, but I do believe, and this is why I'm part of this, that we are carrying the right narrative to the people of the region. And we have a group here in St. Kitts called Operation Rescue, and our mantra is, think for yourselves, but think of others. And I think, broadly speaking, this is the same mantra that this group of suspects carries. We are encouraging people to think for themselves, but also to think of yourselves as part of a community in your island and in our group of islands. So I think I am part of something very positive, and I pray that we will have health and strength to continue our activism, and that we will gather more and more converts, so that certainly in our lifetime, I am 71, it is my intention and hope to be around for maybe 30 or 40 more years.
You're pushing it, Dwyer. Pushing it.
That's why you have to push the envelope.
If you don't push it, it will push you.
Exactly.
I am hoping that certainly in the lifetime of some of us here, we will see significant growth or movement in that correct direction for good governance and good citizenship. Jerry's very correct. We're going to have a lot of challenges thrown our way. And I think the major challenge which we face is ourselves.
Yeah.
And we have to be the change that we are looking for.
Yeah.
And this group is a catalyst for that change. And I really thank you all from the deepest recesses of my heart for allowing me to be part of this. And I wish everybody a joyous Christmas and a healthy and peaceful and happy and productive 2020.
Yes.
Dwyer, thanks for all that you've taught us, Dwyer.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for everything that you've taught us.
Yes, Sir Jerry.
Is, one of the things that I find lacking in our society today is that elder statesman. In practically all of our countries, things happen, there's not a person. And in this group, I see you as the elder statesman. I like to hear your views on stuff, whether, we like them or not. Your cadence with which you come across with stuff, you hold back and you share. And I think the group fancies that position that you've taken up as the elder statesman of the group, with political experience, the natural experience of life. You don't rush to judgment. I like that, And thank you very much for spending the time with us. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother.
And I certainly wish everyone, all the suspects here, the guest suspects who have joined us over the year, a wonderful holiday season and all prosperity for the new year. Looking forward to being with all of you great guys again next year.
Margaret, you a quick one?
Yeah. Well, me. I think in spite of all of that, we still had some glimmers of hope. There were a couple things for us to celebrate. Grenada's gold medal, Jamaica's Miss World, all those little things that we're celebrating as well. Had some fun. But I want to join with the rest of the guys in wishing everybody a happy and safe holiday season. And certainly all that's good in 2020. Hopefully we can turn it around.
Thanks, man. And I want to say thank God for we get Brexit done now. We get Brexit done, so I'm happy now.
Yeah.
Brexit and hey,
Brexit is done.
What about the Don, man?
Ah, please, George.
Yes, Pat.
But I'm coming back to you. Final words, George?
Well, no, I said what I had to say. I had what I had to say. I just
oh, the Donald. Okay.
The Donald. I just
it was last night.
I saw a comment here, two comments from the same person a little while ago. Dorian Charles said, Jerry, you need to let your morning crew know when you are on those panels. Dorian Charles, you know Dorian?
Yeah, well, he's one of the regulars on All in the Morning, yeah.
Okay, and he also says here, and this is something Bev has been harping on now for God knows how long, we need a Caribbean TV station. And let me just say this to you guys. Don't be surprised if you are the nucleus of that Caribbean TV station. Dreams do come to pass.
George, let me tell you this. When I embarked on what I was doing, that's exactly the mission I have in mind. I would not be surprised. Yeah. I see CNN as Caribbean News Network. Let's be serious about that.
Okay, folks, thank you all so much. Bev, you gotta have a final say, Bev. Come on.
Well, I think I did semi-finals here already to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, prosperity. Looking forward to being with you all next year. It's been wonderful. It's been great, and I echo my sister. You know, with the bright sparks that we've had over the year as well. The things to celebrate, despite everything. Our Caribbean people have shown talent, resilience. We've shown our good sides in many ways, and we want more of the good side to come out. We want to see more people fighting against corruption, standing up to corruption, so that we can turn our region around and we can do better, because we are better than this. We are better than this.
Thank you all. Have a great season. Don't drink too much. Don't eat too much. Have a good time. Jerry George, on behalf of the suspects, so long.
God bless you all. God bless you all.
Bye-bye.